Well, it's John Black, super chemist, talking about a three-series book thing called Marxist Communism. It's part one. Critical Legal Studies is part two. Part three is called Critical Race Theory. So let's talk about the part one book first, right? In this series of books called Marxist Communism. It's written by some guy named Marxist. I mean, Karl Marx. Marx? Karl Marx. Yeah. Anyways, he was some. But you know what's funny is all these communists that push communism, they're all like rich. You know what I mean? They're flying around in private jets and telling us how, like Bernie Sanders, he's like worth like $10 million or whatever he's worth, telling us how he loves communism, but communism is supposed to be about sharing, but they never want to share. But they're supposedly they're pushing communism on everybody, which shows you what communism really is. It's about the elite at the top and pushing everyone, 99.99% of the population, into the ground. But anyways, this guy Karl Marx, he was a elitist. Really came from a really rich family. I really don't know much about him. I think he was just a bum, though, basically. I mean, don't quote me. He might have been a real industrious and made a lot of money. But I think he was just a bum that lived off of his wealthy family. And he didn't really do nothing. And yeah, or at least nothing that helped anyone. Like he wrote this book, obviously, so he did some stuff. Uh, but you can't live in a mansion and have butlers and maids and not really have a job, and then tell the poor people how communism's good. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, enough about him. That's about the extent I know about him. You know, he lived hundreds of years ago. Maybe in the 1600s. I don't know. Anyways, what's the book about? Who cares about him? What's the book about? What is communism? Okay, and there's three main types of communism. Marxist communism. What is it? Engel something communism, and I can't remember a third one. It's been a long time since I read these books or knew this kind of stuff. But anyways, what I got from the book, and I wrote it down. The main thing, if you wanted to condense the entire book down into 15-minute video, this is what I got. Okay, and from my memory. So society is an evolutionary process, okay, that has levels, with a monarchy at the bottom and capitalism second to the top, and at the top is communism. Okay, so just like in animals, they have evolutionary path, right? They go from this to that to that, and they got levels, right? So you get up to the humans, right? They're saying that the top one is the top one is communism, and right before that is capitalism. And the first one is obviously, right, monarchy. Where you got a king, you got a chief, you got someone that's just there that's born into his position. And he also says in this book that there's a thing called cultural hegemony. Cultural hegemony is basically a deep state, you can say, okay? But it's the part of the deep state or oligarchy or whatever you want to call them, your cultural hegemony. Yeah, they're the people that, that's the part of the thing that does the brainwashing and the propaganda, okay? They dominate the dominant group in a society that shapes cultural norms, values, and beliefs to maintain their power. And it's a form of brainwashing, is what he's saying. Like when you're living in king and queen times, right? The peasant, he's born and he lives, and he's, in his mind, he's taught that, I mean, every country has kings and queens. This is normal to have a king and a queen. If someone kills, like someone overthrows the king, another king just takes over, right? Another one, whoever killed the first king appoints themselves a new king. That's the way society works. There is no other way. that would be the belief of a person that was poor back in the day, the 1200s or whatever, you know what I mean? They'd be like, they're, I'm sure they didn't like it, but it was so ingrained in their psyche that it was normal. They normalized it, you know what I mean? That a king and queen, that's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do. It's like things fall down to the ground when you let go of them, you know what I mean? You breathe air, it's the sun comes up every day. It was just so ingrained into their whatever. That's what the cultural hegemony is, okay? And he's saying that this cultural hegemony happens in every level of your evolutionary scale, or your process in a society. Each time you go to a next level, a new cultural hegemony is created, because they want, again, the people, the elites, no matter what level of society you're in, unless you're in a communist society, obviously, because that's the best. Every society always has this cultural hegemony, because they want you to think that they want to normalize the society you're in. If it's a dictatorship, like in North Korea, they got the radio that's in every house, right? And it goes off whether they want it to or not. Every day they got to hear. The leader of your country, the North Korea's, who's the guy? I can't remember. He's God, and he's not really human, and you must love him, and blah 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 blah. That's the cultural hegemony at its worst, right there. You know what I mean? But it's about brainwashing you into thinking that it's normal, even though it's not, because according to Karl Marx, only a communist society is normal, right? It's only fair. It's the only society that's fair. Okay, now that's what he says. And then he also says, right? Oh, geez, what is this? There are two steps, okay, to get from one level to the next, like to get out of the king monarchy and get into the next level where you have the aristocrats taking over, and then you have maybe a dictator, and then you have this and this and that, all these different types of societies. To get from one level to the next, you have to do two things. There's no way that you can get around this. These two things are going to happen, okay, to get to the next society. Number one, step one, they have to dismantle and destroy every aspect of society, okay? Because you have to get that poor person in a monarchy, he needs to understand that's a lie, that a monarchy is the only way that a government can be. To get rid of chaos, you have to have a monarchy. You need to stamp that out, okay? All the way down to the way people talk and think, okay? Like I said, that guy's thinking that's the only way, so you got to change his thinking process. The way he thinks, the way he talks and thinks has to be changed, okay? And when we talk about everything in society, I'm talking about the industrial complex, military complex, churches, government, police, schools, everything. Literally everything in society needs to be destroyed all the way down, and to prove my point, even all the way down to the way people think and speak has to be dismantled and destroyed. Okay? That's step one. That's the only way you can move on to the next level. You have to do these two steps. Step two. Okay, after you dismantled and destroyed every aspect of society, all the way down to the way people speak and talk and think. Then, okay, and only then, okay, because if you didn't do step one, you can never, ever, ever, ever move on to step two. Okay? Only then can you build back better with a more fair communist society, or the next whatever is. You can never move on to that more fair society. That can't go up in next level. Can't do it without doing these two steps. First, you have to dismantle and destroy every aspect of society, all the way down to the way people think and speak. And then and only then can you build back better. Okay? To have a more fair society. And on the last level is to have the most fair society, a communist society. And and it also says, you know, these things that I'm saying, the book says, the reason why I'm saying them, because these were stressed. Okay? Think about it. I read these books decades ago. Okay? Decades ago, like 30 years ago or something, man. These stuck out for 30 years. They repeated them. This is like the ideology in a nutshell. Okay? It is your duty. It is your duty as a human being, okay, to dismantle and destroy every aspect of your society, okay, if you are not living in a communist society. Because you can never move up to the next level and sooner or later get to a communist society if you do not dismantle and destroy every aspect of your society. And it is your duty as a human being, you know, as a human being, like down to the, like humanity, like this is a humanitarian thing. And if you don't, it's your duty to do it, man. That's how much, you know, it's like starving children. It's your duty to go over and give them some food if you have food. You see, you know, starving children. It's that kind of humanitarian thing that you need to destroy everything in your society if you ain't living in a communist society. And you know what? And if you are not actively trying to dismantle and destroy every aspect of your society, all the way down to the way people think and talk, then you are part of the cultural hegemony, okay? And you need to be dismantled and destroyed, okay? Because you can never, ever, ever move on to step 2, which is to build back a better, you know, society, a more fair society. You can never do that. You never get to that step. You have to destroy everything. Everything. Even down to the way they think. And you know, when you say you have to change everything all the way down to the way they think and speak, that says it all. You don't even have to read that, you know, oh, it means the industrial complex, it means churches, it means schools, it means this, it means that. Yeah, it means everything. When you talk about changing or destroying and dismantling the way you think and the way you speak, that means everything. You can infer at that point they really mean destroy everything in society. They're not just being like hyperbolic. They mean it, okay? And it is your duty, okay? And if you do not do your duty as a human being, that you would be so disgusting that you wouldn't do your, you know, it's like your humanitarian duty, then you need to be dismantled and destroyed because you are garbage, okay? Running out of time here. Evolutionist. Oh, and the last thing here is the evolution of a society is inevitable and cannot be stopped under any circumstances. And capitalism is the second to the top, and communism is the top level of societal evolution. But you cannot stop this evolution. You know what I mean? It's going to happen no matter what you do, okay? And I wanted to, big words that are used a lot in these books: equity, personal truth, yeah, personal truth, diversity, inclusion, dismantle and destroy, your duty. These are words that were used a lot of times in the book, okay? And let me tell you, personal truth, okay, keep in mind, I read these 30 years ago. Personal truth might actually be from the book, the next part 2 book called Critical Legal Studies. But that is these are terms, these are literal scientific terms for communism, okay? Literal scientific terms. That's why they get the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. They're communist terms. They're riddled throughout all 3 books, okay? Because they love, it's called Marxist communism, for God's sake, so they love communism.